Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be doing a video on the Deception series, and I'm pretty sure you know what you're all thinking. Well, didn't you already do a review series already? So, yeah, I did, and yeah, sure, that video was alright, I guess. I mean, it definitely could have been a lot more improved, but anyways, the reason why I'm doing this video is because this series is definitely not only one of my favorites, but it actually just turned 20 years old on the date of 1996 of July 25th for North America. Believe it or not, the Japanese date was actually a day after, so technically we got the first game first by a day. Interesting. So this video is not really going to be a review per se, it's actually going to be more of a retrospective where I'm going to be talking about a little bit about each and every game and of course telling you about some of my favorite memories about it and some of my favorite moments that happened and all that kind of good stuff. And of course, you know, this is a series that I think that is definitely overlooked, and more people definitely need to at least try them out because, you know, it's not like your typical like action hack and slash like Ninja Gaiden or a fighting game like DOA that Tecmo has also made. It's not anything like that, which is something I always at least appreciate. So anyways, let's begin with the video. So this right here is the first game in the series, Tecmo's Deception: Invitation to Darkness. And I always found it weird that the title of this game actually puts their company name in the title itself. I've always found that weird. I mean, I know Tecmo has done that with like Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Stackers or whatever, but it just kind of seemed weird here. In fact, in the European copy of the game, they actually called it Devil's Deception, which makes a lot more sense. And not only that, but it actually sounds pretty damn badass, so yeah, they definitely got the better end of that one. Anyways, so what this game is generally about is that you use a prince, and you go back to your kingdom, and then what happens there is that your father, like, dies because he's the king, and then after that you get framed for it by your brother, Urius, because he's an asshole, and then after that you escape from execution, and then you get lost into a forest, you meet some weird looking chick, and she kind of looks like a ghost. She tells you to go to the Castle of the Damned, which is this castle in the picture. And basically when you go to the castle, it kind of, like in the game begins, it's placed in like a first person perspective, and it kind of seems like a survival horror at first because because everything looks really dark, the music is creepy, and of course like you get chased by a guy that looks like he's wearing like Jason Voorhees mask, which is pretty funny. And of course, so speaking of that, this game actually scared the crap out of me as a kid because this was actually the first horror-related game I ever played. Because I didn't play games like Resident Evil or Silent Hill until like much later on, but yeah, so technically this is kind of sort of like my first survival horror, even though I wouldn't say it is a survival horror, but it definitely does have some elements of it there. Not entirely, but some, especially at the beginning of the game. But, so after that, you realize that you can actually, like, set traps on him, and you end up, like, beating up the guy at his own game, and then after that you meet that ghost chick again, and this time she actually gives you the power of darkness, which allows you to set traps in the game, and that's where the main focus of the game is that you set traps, and there's people that will, like, come and try and invade you, mostly people that get sent by your brother Urius, because he realizes that you haven't been dead yet, so he wants to, like, send people, like, after you. And of course there's other people that do visit the castle as well that do want like other things like treasure, or they want like the 5 like items that are like possessed by the devil or something like that. But the devil actually does play a very interesting role in this game. So what the devil's role in this game is that you have to resurrect him by collecting the 5 possessed items, and also you have to harvest souls from the invaders that are trying to invade you. Well, of course that's what Astrate tells you, who is that ghost chick. So anyways, so basically, like I said, you have to like kill people by using traps. You can't actually like use like a sword or anything like that, which is why I think this game is unique, because I'm pretty sure if this game was just like, you know, a first person like game, kind of like Kingsfield, where you use like a sword and you just gotta like kill people that invade you, it just wouldn't feel the same. So instead they make a unique twist by making you have to use strategy by using different types of traps, and there's a lot of different varieties. Like you get like cages, you get like metal balls, and then you also get like pits, and you get like weight tons. There's just like a whole lot of other things, and of course later on in the game you can upgrade traps by adding in like different like elements to them. Like I know you can get like spikes and like poison spikes. It's pretty great. And something else I always found this game to be pretty ambitious is the fact that there's actually multiple other things you can do in the game. Like you can actually like collect block orbs, and you can like summon monsters. So there is technically a way you can kill people without using traps, but of course when you do that you don't get as much bonuses. But it is pretty cool that you can like summon monsters though. I always found that to be pretty cool. And of course, like, the monsters do level up as well, and even yourself, because this game does have some minor RPG elements, but of course when you level up, that's how you acquire more traps and more upgrades and such. But another thing that is also very cool about this game is that you can also add rooms into the castle, so instead of just having like a small space on the castle, because the castle's not too big in this game, but of course you can expand it by making like extra rooms, extra hallways, and of course there's also like bedrooms that you can add in, and basically when you add in those rooms you can like heal up and such. It's actually really great. In fact, one thing I remember I did that was like really fucking stupid was that I added in like a shit ton of bedrooms, and because like the bedrooms in this game were like super cheap, so of course you can add in like so many of them. But when you do that though, the thing is, when you add in the bedrooms, you can't put traps in there because the whole purpose of the bedroom is to, go to sleep and regain your health, where, of course, you get those stupid enemies that would always, like, try to run into, like, the bedrooms all the time and hide in there, and of course I can't kill them, so it was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, that was a big dumb mistake I made, which is pretty funny. But anyways, I have a lot of nostalgic memories for this game, and it's always fun to go playing this game back. Usually I always try to play at least one of these games in the series during Halloween, because it seems very appropriate. But one thing I should mention here is that this game really just goes to show you that you can pretty much play a game as a kid and not get corrupted, because I know a lot of people say, like, video games ruin your life or shit like that, which is obviously full of shit. But yeah, so it's not like, after playing this game as a kid, it's not like I tried to do this shit in real life, because obviously it's make-believe, and that's the point of video games, is to like escape from reality and do things that you can't do in real life. So anyways, without going into a big rant about that, I'll just leave it as that this game is definitely really awesome. I really love it a lot, and I definitely do think it's at least worth trying. And thankfully, on the PS3's PSN, you can actually download this game now for like $5.99. So, if in case you can't find this game out in the wild, at least there is that for an option. So anyways, I can go on and on about this game, but we're going to have to continue on talking about the other games. So the next game in the series is Kagero Deception 2. And yeah, a lot of these games all have like different names, but have the word deception in the title, so yeah, so sometimes if you're like a new fan of the series, it could get a little bit confusing, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. But yes, this one has a very terrible box art. It looks like they're trying to make her look like Mega Man #1 on NES. And of course, another thing is that, you see that thing that says X Gold? Now, a lot of people say that the X Gold thing is full of shit because, that game, what was it there, Bubsy 3D, that also had the X Gold mark? Well, thankfully, this is a game that is actually good, and I would say it's actually worthy of having the X Gold if it actually meant something at all. And of course, despite the bad box art, like I said, this game is great. But of course, I do prefer the first one a little bit more, just because of the nostalgia factor, because I didn't play this game until like 2006. And the reason why that is because I was looking up games that was like related to the first game, because I didn't have the internet at the time, so I didn't know. And it kind of seemed like a sequel at first, because at the beginning text it said, Prince blah 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 has returned to his journey, and so I kind of thought it was like a sequel to something that I didn't know about, but it was actually the first, and this one is the second. So anyways, they definitely did change a lot of things with this game, but I still thought it worked really well, where instead of being in the first person mode, you're in a third person view, and you can actually see your character, and your character that you're using is named Millennia, and she is a girl that grew up as an orphan, and she was later on raised by a bunch of creatures called the Time-Noids. Well, they're not really creatures. They're more like, they look like humans, but they have blue skin, and they can have the power of immortality, or at least they can live up to like hundreds of years old, but they can still die, but just they don't die of old age. So, anyways, so pretty much in this game, the Time-Noids are actually using your character as a puppet to try and like kill off as much humans as possible for their plan. And of course, by that, you have to set traps. And the way how you set traps in this game is actually a lot different as well, because instead of like placing a whole bunch of traps in one room, you can only set 3. And there's like a wall trap, a floor trap, and a ceiling trap. And of course, there's also environmental traps that you can use. So what the environmental traps are is that you can use them to like do more damage and more combos. Like for an example, you can like knock over a pillar and it would like fall on them, or you can use like a spring floor and it would like make them go flying into like a fireplace or something. It's pretty great. And of course, the other thing is that because this game is more focused on combos, you basically want to get more combos for doing, like getting like more money, because in this game you have to buy your traps and you can like buy upgrades. And now, one thing that might be considered to be a turnoff for some people is that this game actually has a control style of like Resident Evil, where it, like tank controls. So like if you're not a huge fan of that, you probably may not like this one because of that. But if you're okay with it, or if you like actually don't mind it at all, and just take some practice with it, yeah, I do think this is a really good one. Just like I said, it does take some time to get used to, and I got used to it pretty quickly. But then again, I don't mind tank controls, but of course it really depends on the type of game it is. Or obviously, like something like a platformer wouldn't work with tank controls. That would just be weird as fuck. But yeah, with this game, though, I do think it does work quite well. It's just, because this game, you are trying to survive after all, because, you are getting a whole bunch of enemies after you and such. But anyways, though, I still would recommend this one. It's just also unfortunate that you can't get this one on PSN yet, but you never know. So now, this is going to be the third one in the series, and that happens to be Deception 3 Dark Delusion, and this is actually the last one to be released on the PlayStation 1. So, nothing too much I was able to cover, or, anything about that. But this one I didn't play until, like, way later on. I think it was until, like, 2009 or 2010. Yeah, it was something around there. But, either way, though, this game is a good entry of the game, but there are some things about it that did kind of bug me. But I think it was mostly the story in this game was, like, not that great. And even though I think these games, like, the main focus of it is not the story, I think it's more about the gameplay and the tactician of it. But, yeah, the story in this one, it kind of bugged me for some reason. I mean, if I remember right, I remember the story, you take place as a girl named Reina, and you get kidnapped, and then, like, everyone in your family gets killed, like, right in front of you, and before you get, like, executed, you get rescued by some random kid who has the power to use traps, and then, of course, there's also some weird plot line where apparently the more times you use traps, it's like a curse or something. It just gets really fucking weird. And I think it's more of the writing that also kind of made it fucked up too, so that could also be another reason for it. But either way though, despite that, like, despite the story being kind of like fucked up and shit, it is a good game. Like, it's more or less the same thing where, third person, you do combos with traps, and of course it's more like environmental stuff and, all that kind of good shit. But one thing that I really do like about this one a lot has to do with the fact that you can create your own traps. And basically how you create them is that you put like certain like elements together, like, you have like impact, you have poison, you have like fire, thunder, all that kind of good stuff. So then after that you also get like rings, which also like indicate like how like the trap is activated. Then you get like orbs to make it more powerful or faster, and of course the more you add on the better it is, but of course it makes it like really expensive to do. But yeah, so basically that's how you create the traps. This one, there's not a whole lot to say about it because it is more or less of the same thing like the second one, but this time you can also do a barrel roll, which is also very helpful. But yeah, despite that, it's more or less the same thing like the second one, but I do think it is good, but it's not like as good, but there are definitely some really good things about it. Like I said, like trap creation is really cool, and also the fact that the graphics in this game is like really fucking good for a PS1 game, and of course also the music. Well, actually, I think the music in all the games are amazing, but, I'll just say it here that, yeah, the music in this game is also pretty damn amazing as well. So, this is the fourth game in the series, but this one is kind of weird because, they don't have the word, like, deception in the title, but as you can see here, it's called Trapped. And no, not the band, the game. And also, it has a backwards R in it, which I always thought was pretty amusing. But anyways, how I first actually got this game was actually off of my sister's friend, but it wasn't this exact copy of it, it was like a loose disc, and he was getting rid of some games on PS2, and I remember I saw this game and I was like, oh shit, like you actually have this game? And he's like, yeah, I don't really like it that much. I mean, I don't know, it seems okay, I just can't really get into it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take it off your hands. So he ended up giving it to me, and I was like the happiest motherfucker ever. But yeah, that was definitely a good day. But anyways though, so this game, it involves around more of a, like it still has like the same like third person, the combos and all that good stuff, but this one they actually improved the controls where now it doesn't control like a Resident Evil kind of game, and now it actually, you can actually like fully move around and stuff, which I think is helpful. And not only that, but they actually added in some really interesting finishing bonuses, kind of like, like fatalities from Mortal Kombat, where basically you have to do like certain conditions, and of course after that, when you do these certain conditions and you make the guy go into a certain spot, you can activate these special traps called dark illusions, I think they're called. And basically, when you activate these, it's like a really painful looking trap. Where basically, like I remember one for an example, it's like basically the guy gets like stuck into like a music box and he gets like his body gets like crushed by like the gears and such. It's actually pretty painful, but it's also very amusing. And then of course there's also one where like, you can like make a guy go flying into like a giant alligator or something. It's actually very amusing. And there's like a whole bunch of other ones there, but yeah, finding out those little secret things is always a lot of fun. And you can change your costume because you can get the costume from the other two girls from the other games. And they also added in the trap where you can, where you have like a banana peel on the ground, they trip over it because, just like the good old cartoons, which is really hilarious, so I always thought that was amusing. But either way though, this one is just pretty much like the other two, but just with like bigger and better, and I just like it a whole lot. In fact, I think this one is definitely like just as good as the first game in my own opinion. But yeah, definitely love this one. In fact, I actually beat this one 100%. Well, at least on my data it says 100%, but I'm missing one costume. But hey, the fact that it says 100% completion, then hey, I'm fine with that. But yeah, that one costume's a bitch to get. But either way though, this one I can still highly recommend for people to go try out in the series because this one definitely controls a lot better, and I do think the story is generally good. Oh, even though it is more of the same thing, where you're using Princess Allura, gets blamed for getting her father killed, and yeah, all that kind of good stuff. But either way, though, I still think this is a great one, and thankfully you can get it on PS3's PSN. Hopefully, it might go on the PS4's PSN, but we'll have to see. So before we get into the next game in the series, so the game Trapped, which I already talked about, came out in the year 2005, and the next one, which is called Deception 4 Blood Ties, which just makes it really confusing, but so that game came out in 2014, so pretty much it took 9 years just to get another game into the series, and I remember after playing the PS2 one, I was like, man, I really wish they make one for the PS3, wouldn't that be awesome? Well, they do, and I was pretty damn happy about that. So this one is called Deception 4 Blood Ties, and yes, the reason why it's called number 4 is because Trapped on PS2 is actually a spin-off game. So technically, it's like this one is 5, but that one should be 4. It just gets all sorts of fuckularness, but despite that though, this game is awesome, and it's exactly what I expected it to be another like great entry into the series. So this one, you're actually using a chick named Lagrina. I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not entirely sure. This game's all in Japanese, by the way, so at least when it comes to the voice acting. But anyways, though, so you use her, and you have like 3 other like sisters, and you're all like daughters of the devil, which is a different concept for sure. That's something that we haven't seen already. And not only that, but the reason why that you're like the devils is because you gotta go like fuck other people over, and these other people are vessels from saints that once like stopped the devil's resurrection. So yeah, so in this game you're pretty much the reason why there's shitty situations happening to other people, like I explained in my review of this game. But yes, I actually said that this was a really good game in the series. It did a lot of big improvements, a lot of like different new ideas, which I really liked. And I also like the style of the game too, because I mean I always liked the whole style of the other games where it was like very gothic-like. And this one definitely does have gothic-like, but it also has like a good mixture of like steampunk as well, which I think is really cool. Like I know you have like some of those soldiers that shoot like electric bullets at you, and then you have like those magician girls that have like the top hats, and it kind of looks like I said, it looks very steampunkish, which I'm a huge fan of. So yeah, so I really like that as well. And the fact is, in this one, you can actually put like, I think up to like 7 traps in one room, and then you can like switch between them at like each time. And of course, you can put like any it doesn't have to be like a ceiling trap, floor trap, and wall trap. You can put like as many as you want, as long as they all combo work together. And of course, there's also like even more brutal like fatality traps, I guess you can call them, which are also like awesome. And this game also adds in a lot of like humor traps as well, which is also great. But yes, this is a great entry into the series that it was definitely a long time coming for me. Also, you can actually get this game on the Vita as well, which is pretty cool, so knowing that this game was also on a handheld, which I always found to be interesting. So this one right here, Deception 4, The Nightmare Princess, is not exactly like a sequel to Part 4, it's more of like an expansion pack because it still has the original story, but instead there's actually extra stuff you can do, and I will get into that in a moment, but believe it or not, this is actually one of the reasons why I bought a PS4. Yeah, I know it may seem unbelievable, but yeah, this was one of the reasons. Of course, there was many other exclusive games that made me want to buy a PS4, but this was definitely one of them, because, you know, I'm such a huge fan of the series. So, yes, so pretty much like I mean by an expansion pack is that in this one there's actually a new, like, challenge mode, which is, like, really huge, and there's, like, a lot of different missions you can do. And of course, a lot of these missions are really hard, and of course, like, they can be, like, really challenging and hard to figure out. But of course, once you do figure them out, it's very satisfying. And of course, there's also, you can fight, like, all, like, the other, like, heroines from the other games. Like, you know, you can fight Lagrina, you can fight Allura from Trapped, you can fight, like, Millennia from the second, and Reina from the third. Kinda sucks that they didn't add in the Prince from the first game, but that would've been pretty cool. But anyways, though, so after, like, doing all the challenges, there's, like, a lot more traps that they added. There's actually, like, a shit ton in this game. Like, it's actually pretty insane. Like, I haven't even unlocked all of them yet. That's how many there are. And, of course, there's, like, many different, like, settings in the game, where now there's actually, like, they made, like, joke settings, and basically some of these joke settings are kind of, like, they have one that's in, like, a hospital, they have one that's in, like, a park, and I mean, like, a park, like a kid's park. It's pretty amusing. And then, of course, there's also, like, a school gym and all that. It's actually really hilarious, and I love that. I love the fact that this game does use some humor elements into it. And then one new weird mechanic that you think would kind of defeat the purpose of the game, but they actually made it very well, was that with this new character, I forget her name off the top of my head, but she's, like, the red chick. Well, basically, in this game, she has the ability to kick people, and it does do a little tiny bit of damage, but not enough to actually, like, kill someone. So pretty much you can do a melee attack in this game, and when I first heard about that, I was a little bit skeptical, thinking like, oh man, I hope they try and, like, fix that or something. But no, they actually made it work, because you can't use it on every single enemy, because there are some big enemies that are immune to it. And of course, there are, like, some enemies, like I said, you can't kill anyone with it. It's only meant for, like, stunning people. Either way, though, this game definitely did add a lot for an expansion pack, and it was definitely well worth it for, you know, getting a PS4, and along with, like, many other games, like you know, like Bloodborne, and, like, Wolfenstein, and of course, you know, like Shadow Warrior. Those were, like, some of the first few games I got for the system. But yeah, definitely love this game a whole lot. So that takes us right to the end of this video, so that's pretty much all I have to say about the 20th anniversary of the Deception series, and hopefully it will still continue on with more games and more expansions, or, you know, anything like that, because, I mean, I'm always happy to see things like that. But, yeah, either way, though, I do want them to take their time, because I know they made that game last year, but, like I said, as long as they do continue and just take their breaks, and, you know, as long as they don't overkill it, I'm pretty much good to go. But yes, so hopefully more of you guys will be able to, like, look into these games eventually, or, you know, might have some interest, or maybe discover something new, or anything like that, because that's why I like doing these videos, is so more people can be aware of stuff that they maybe might find interesting. So anyways, with that being said, thank you for watching and commenting, and of course, let's go trap some motherfuckers.